day and welcome to the Chamber Member Spotlight Podcast, where we feature one of our many small business members. And as we're aware, small businesses are the backbone to any community. They provide much needed services and products, employ our residents, pay taxes, and give back to our community in a number of ways. We're so glad you joined us. We know you're going to enjoy this episode. My name is Catherine Castro, your host for the Chamber Member Spotlight Podcast. Our featured guest is Guam Chamber Member Title Guaranty. Well, first and foremost, happy anniversary, Ryan.
Thank you very much.
Title Guaranty has been serving the community of Guam for 60 years.
Yes.
Well, here.
Thank you.
Fantastic. And I had a ball with you guys at the gala the other weekend. So how were Title Guaranty celebrating your 60 years this year?
Well, we just had our 60th anniversary party a couple weeks ago, right? Or gosh, time flies. Yeah, end of April, right? And so I guess knowing our 60th year was coming, we got introspective about kind of who we are, where we're going. And so late in 2022, we decided to kind of rebrand the company and kind of shift, right? Because over the last, I would say, 5 years, we've experienced, obviously I came on board, and I think with that, there was a little bit of a culture shift that happened. I had my own ideas about how I wanted to do things, and so we started that process 5 years ago, and I felt late last year we had come to a place where we need to redefine who we are. So we did. We came up with a new brand identity. We took a look at what our mission statement is going to be. We took a look about what the future is going to look like for us, and how we're going to what we were going to value and how we were going to operate. And so we kicked off our brand launch. We invited all our clients and customers and stakeholders to come in, let them know what we're all about, and it all culminated in the event on the 27th of April. And it was nice. We just kind of, this is who we are now, and what's old is new again, right? And I think for a company that has 60 years, you do have to reinvent yourself, right? Because it's easy to get set in your ways, especially if it works. But I guess it may not work. It's hard to break old habits, and it may not work moving forward. So it's always good to be introspective and take hard looks at yourself and really redefine who you are.
Right, and I think that's super important. Just maybe a message out there to our small businesses, right? So if you've been around for a little bit and you're feeling really, really comfortable, but maybe it's time to take a look at what your mission statement is and how you are going to grow your business and how you're going to, what kind of foundation that you want to leave and what is the sustainability of your business, right? And who your competitors are out there, and what does the global market look like, and how does that affect your company in Guam, right? So these are some important things that small businesses have to take a look at from time to time in their businesses. So that is a growing activity and exercise in and of itself, I think.
Agreed.
And the chamber has gone through it obviously multiple times in our history, and so there's something to be said about taking a look at where you're at and where you want to be and how you're going to get there, right? So good for you guys.
Yeah, thank
you. For our listening members out there who are not very familiar with Title Guaranty, can you tell us a little bit more about it? Are you locally owned? What do you do? What does it mean to be a title company?
A Title Guaranty is 100% locally owned, right? And what we do is we facilitate escrow or real estate transactions, I should say, by providing escrow services and also offering title insurance products that ensure your ownership of the property in perpetuity.
Okay, so I rent. Why is a title company important in the whole scheme of things here in Guam?
Well, I think there are times in your life where you're always going to need a title company.
Okay.
One of those times is when there's a death in the family. Many times you'll need to perform a search of all the real estate records to see if the person who passed on was entitled to or had a claim to or owned any property that you didn't know about in terms of selling their estate. There are times when a family member wants to transfer property to another family member.
Right.
So they'll need to do a title search and document preparation. We can facilitate that. And really, anyone who has an interest in real estate should have a relationship with the title and escrow company. And that's because we are a wealth of information, resources, and assets as well. We can facilitate essentially any government service there is respective to real estate.
Fantastic. So, is a title company necessarily the same? Does it transact the same type of transaction? I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly, as an escrow company.
Well, so title and escrow are used in the same breath because they go hand in hand. So escrow, when someone buys something, buys a piece of property more specifically, they want to ensure that title to the property is effectively conveyed to them. At the same time, the person selling the property wants to make sure they get what they're promised in terms of consideration or the money that's promised, right, as part of the agreement to purchase the property. So what we do is we hold the money from the buyer, and then we hold the title from the seller, and we make sure title is effectively transferred to the buyer, and we make sure the money is effectively transferred to the seller as per the agreement. And then, there's an apparatus to ensure the title to your property, and it's called on Guam, and it's called the certificate of title, right? And the problem with the certificate of title is there's no monetary backing for the consumer in that. Meaning, if there's a problem, so say you get the certificate of title from the government, but there's a challenge to that certificate of title. Yes, you have that, and the government is certified that you own the property, but at the same time, there can be challenges to that. And as a result of that challenge, you have to hire an attorney, you have to litigate it, right? You have to fight it in court. You have to fight the plaintiff or the claimant and assert your claim. And so you have to do that all out of pocket. So what a title insurer does, that's why escrow and title go hand in hand, is we issue you an insurance policy that effectively says, if anyone ever challenges that you were the owner of the property, or says that they have a claim to the property, or there's a mortgage that hasn't been paid off, or property taxes that haven't been paid, we will defend the fact that that is not the case. And if it is the case, then we will back you with monetary recompense up to the value of the property.
Fantastic. Thank you. I mean, I think that many people, we understand that there are very different types of businesses, right, in our community, and maybe, some of our listening audience is not aware of what exactly a title company is or an escrow company is, so I really appreciate that. I wonder, what is the most challenging aspect of your industry?
Right now, I guess in the micro sense, interest rates, right,
Okay.
and inventory, and really the lack of affordable housing. I think where we are as an industry is or as a community, is we have this class of people who will never be able to buy a house, and that's because of where average income is here and the cost of building. Scarcity of resources. There are a bunch of factors. The presence of competing forces for a limited resource.
Yeah.
So when that happens, you don't have a healthy middle class, and you don't have people necessarily buying up or buying in, and so I think the lack of available inventory affects the ability for people to step up in wealth, and then also, kind of, how do I say this? I guess the ability of people to kind of move up in the world. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
So if there were some kind of allocation made, then I think property would move more freely, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things too is interest rates are extremely high.
Yeah.
So because the interest rate was 2% end of 2022, 2.5%, now that it's essentially doubled or 2.25 times higher, what was affordable at $600,000 in December 2022 now is double the price, and no one can afford that.
Right. Yeah.
But then owners are kind of set on this number, and I'll just wait it out because it's
Sure.
been really good here for a really long time.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts? I mean, and I don't know, you know, if you can comment, but I think that obviously there is a lot of discussion on island about increasing the housing inventory here on Guam and ways that they can be more affordable. What are your thoughts on how what can the island do or to get there, right? To provide affordable housing for our residents, right? Would that take public-private investment? Would it take investors to come to Guam? Would it take government incentive programs? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we should definitely incentivize people to develop property, and it's such a. I think it's such a complicated issue as well because as an example, the property tax basis is extremely low here, right? Yeah. So we have these estates with large tracts that can afford to keep it, relatively inexpensively, right? Without risk of loss because there's no apparatus for, say, the Department of Revenue and Taxation to kind of take their property via like sale of a tax deed like they would in other places in the United States. But I think the reason that exists is because land ownership is such a heartfelt thing here, right?
Yeah.
For local community, especially because so much land was lost, through government takings over the years,
Sure.
right? So I think if we were to find a way to incentivize people to develop or disincentivize them to not develop property, keep your ownership, but if you don't develop this property, then your cost is going to scale, because I think that lack of available property to build is one problem. And there's a lot of property tied up in, say, the ancestral land trust or a Chamorro land trust,
Sure.
that can be opened up. And I guess everyone just needs to get on the same page to solve the problem.
Yeah.
There's so many different fiefdoms and competing interests, and some people honestly don't want it to change.
Sure.
Right, because
Yeah.
this keeps property values where they are.
Right.
I'm fine, so why do I need to worry about you?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think from a community standpoint, if we were to solve that problem, it would benefit all of us. There might be a little bit of a shift initially, but I think for the health of the market, because you have people really coming up with affordable housing, and really real estate ownership is the number one way to build wealth. That's why I got into the real estate business. I read this book by Robert Kiyosaki that everyone probably knows, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's what he said. And so, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I started my journey because that book inspired me.
Yeah, yes, of course. Wow, that's fantastic. So, you've run your business successfully, and how does Title Guaranty give back to your community?
We do in a lot of ways. We are active in junior achievement. We really aspire to the idea of mentorship, right? I really value that because along the way in my career, people have always helped me, and that's why we're involved with the chamber. That's why we're involved in Rotary, the Rotary Club of Guam, and that's why we're involved with the Junior Achievement Program. We do beach cleanups, and I think it's important to understand that we are invested in the community, because for me, we come from a place of giving, right? I think if you come from the place of how can I help, what you want will come to you in return, right?
Yeah.
So I really value the idea of paying it forward, even if there's not a direct correlation to value. And that's how I've always operated from when I was a realtor, self-employed, to now at Title Guaranty. I always say, don't think about what you're going to get. See how you can help first.
Good. I love that. And you mentioned your participation, your company's participation in Junior Achievement, and congratulations. I know that some of your teams, your companies have done really, really well.
Yes.
And that really speaks to, your mentorship of these young aspiring entrepreneurs, and I think that's fantastic. I'm a huge supporter of Junior Achievement, and the chamber is as well. And I think that that's so important. It gets them exposed, right, to what it means to start a business, and all of the various aspects of that, right? So you don't take it for granted, like, why did this company raise the price of the hamburger, right? But you'll understand the ins and outs, and you'll appreciate why that business had to do what it had to do to survive, right? And so I think that's important. I think that the community and folks within the community need to understand that, right? So good for you guys. And I know that you mentioned the Guam Chamber of Commerce. So can you tell us how how has your chamber membership benefited your company, Title Guaranty?
So for me, it's understanding the community of business people and what those interests are. Understanding how we all interrelate with each other, and how we all need to really band together to support issues that are important to us. And I think there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Someone has to fight for us.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why we work with like-minded individuals as members of the chamber.
Thank you. So, a lot of people that listen to this podcast, they're interested in starting a business, right? They're interested in, what can I do to be my own boss, or to do something that fills a need within the community, right? As somebody who runs a business, what kind of advice would you give somebody who aspires to run their business someday?
I would say, don't take no for an answer, and you have to fight. And we do this. So I'm going to brag about our JA team, right? We've come in first the last couple of years. Our team from 2022, or I should say 2021, actually won the regionals, which is the first team on Guam that actually did it.
Yeah. And
they learned those lessons themselves. And what I told the kids is, what if you have to understand that when you run a business, you don't eat. No one says it's going to be okay. And you come, you're not an adult yet, so you don't understand that there are real consequences to your decisions, and you have to fight for everything that you're going to get, and it's an extremely competitive environment. So number one, believe in yourself. That's the first thing. It all starts with belief. The Jeff Bezos didn't know what he was doing when he founded Amazon. He was just some guy selling books out of a garage. But he figured it out, and he believed that he could. So I think that's the number one. Believe that you can, right? And then number two, you have to be persistent. You cannot stop. If the only thing between you and making enough money to pay your rent and keeping your business alive is to talk to 100 people on the beach, talk to 100 people on the beach. Be relentless.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I think that what the pandemic, kind of going through that pandemic has taught us is that, not only are you going to keep going, and not only are you going to continue to be relentless, but you need to be flexible. And kudos to you guys, because when Junior Achievement, your company won, that was during the pandemic, right? You guys did things that no other Junior Achievement company leading up to 2020 has ever done, which is meet virtually. And that was difficult. And despite those challenges, you went on to win.
Right.
Right. And so I think that that is a good lesson to everybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, who wants to own their own business, or just to succeed or to reach a goal. Be 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 that person that's not going to give up,
Right.
right? And have confidence in what it is that you want to do. I think that that is particularly key. So, moving on to what is next on the horizon for Title Guarantee. You're 60 years old, right? And you probably you went through that exercise of, okay, this is what do we want for in the next 5 to 10 years? What's on the horizon?
Sure. Well, if you notice, I'm wearing a Pinpoint Guam
Yeah.
shirt, and also if you might notice in your inbox, there's an application for the chamber.
Okay. Okay, I will look.
Right. So, what we have so many assets that we've converted to digital, specifically real estate records from transactions over the last 60 years, right? And this is all data that you would find in the Department of Land Management. But we've aspired to leverage those real estate assets. And one of the problems with government and technology is that as soon as the government aspires to produce a piece of technology, it's obsolete. Because the day you buy it is the day it starts getting old. And there's generally no foresight into how it's going to be managed in the future, how it's going to be maintained. And it's just built to fit this one specific need. And that need inevitably changes. So we as an industry decided that we're just going to take things in our own hand and aggregate those assets and leverage them in our own way. So Pinpoint Guam is specifically real estate research and data aggregation, and then also software development. So we develop digital assets that allow our customers to leverage real estate data. So as an example, if you were a planner trying to work on, again, your redevelopment, we have planning layers based on real estate records that we overlay onto a satellite map of Guam. So it would be easier for you to make informed decisions in terms of your planning workflow to get, say, a zoning application approved, or get a development approved as per the Agani redevelopment plan, right? Or let's say, from a permitting perspective, everyone's talking about building permits. Well, how easy would it be is if there was a platform where you can see all the information that the party approving a permit needs to see right in one place, rather than have to request this from land management, have to request this from EPA, have to request this from GFD.
Yeah.
So we've aggregated all those resources into a platform where that can be done. So one of our first products is a product called RealFax, and that's in partnership with the Guam Association of Realtors. And RealFax is essentially a tax map of Guam. So you can identify property owners, you can identify zoning of a property, and then also you can view all the pertinent real estate records associated with that property.
Wow.
Right? And so, and if a record, and people might get concerned that, this is Big Brother watching me, but all this information is public. Mm-hmm. This is all information that's been recorded over the Department of Land Management. Mm-hmm. So what we do over the years is, when we do title searches, we request specific documents from the Department of Land Management. We get the hard copy, and we do the title report, and it sits in a file.
Yeah.
So over the last 5 years, we've scanned those documents.
Amazing.
So we have over 500,000 documents. And if there's a document missing, we have an apparatus by which to request a document. We upload it to the system and send it to you. And we just, by demand, we keep increasing our documents. And on a daily basis, we purchase copies of every document that's recorded at the Department of Land Management, and we put it in our system. So attorneys subscribe to our service to view records.
Sure.
They order title searches from us, and then they also engage us to say, Ryan, I need a property that is over 50,000 square meters that it's zoned M2 in the following municipalities. Can you give me a list of prospects? And we can produce that on a map, and we can produce that on a list.
In lickety split.
Within seconds, yes.
That's fantastic.
Right. Or say, Ryan, I need to send out a rezone notification to people within 100 feet of this area. Okay, so I populate the list, and we can facilitate the sending of those letters as well.
Wow.
So everything real estate we can do that has roots in the public record.
That's amazing.
It's not really amazing, but we did it.
You know what? Because I have to tell you that this is something that I felt like it should have been done ages ago, and to have a private company take it upon themselves to say, you know, this is a need in our community and we need to do it. You know, thank you.
Well, this is where stakeholders in the industry have to just take things into and you know. We can argue all we want, and we can put pressure on the government all we want, but then you have to navigate all these hurdles, and this is why I think it's just best that we take matters, and it can evolve into a public-private partnership for sure. And I would love more government engagement in this project, and we've spoken to stakeholders, you know, in various the educational entities, right, GCC, UOG, in terms of workforce development for this product, and then also the different stakeholders in aggregating this data under one source. And it's all there, and it's all under these different fiefdoms. Like coastal management has their own GIS layer, GPA has their own GIS layer, Guam Waterworks, and they're all funding it independently.
Wow.
But if we aggregate the data, there's real value in all the people having it. But the problem in government is someone's going to want to control that. Right? And the person that controls it isn't the person with the highest vested interest in the control. We are in the real estate community, the Guam Association of Realtors, the consumers, the title companies. So that is why I thought, let's just stop. Let's stop waiting and let's just take action.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thank
What's
you.
What does the industry look like as far as workforce development? You know, what is your industry going to be looking for in their future workforce?
Hiring is really hard now, especially after pandemic. Everyone's mindset has really shifted, especially entry level employees. And I think we definitely need to focus more on developing technology side. I think that's where we should really be focused. And honestly, I think we tend to try the same things over and over. And I really think that we need more people thinking outside of the box in terms of being creative with solutions. And there's being too creative, right, within the frame of reality. But, you know, like as an example, Elon Musk did some solar project in Samoa. Why not here? Right? Why couldn't Guam be a test bed for that? We have the same assets, we have the same infrastructure. In fact, we're a little bit more developed in terms of our mass transit. Why aren't we looking at self-driving technology? You know, as a kind of like outlier in terms of how to solve these problems. And I just think, you know, trying to repeat the same practices that we've done in the past is just a road to nowhere. So I think we just have to find outside the box that kind of are outside the infrastructure. And again, it's going to take the private sector to do that because I don't think we can wait for the government. I think we just need to figure out as a community and then take action and then hope the government will come.
Yeah. Well, man, this is like a really good conversation. I hate for this to end, Ryan, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I've learned so much, and it was really a pleasure to spend some time with you. We truly appreciate your insights and your recommendations, and we look forward to maybe having more time with you in the future. I'd like to thank our listeners for tuning in and listening to today's show. We encourage you to drop us a note to share your comments on this episode or visit our website or social media platforms. We'd really appreciate your feedback. I'd like to thank our listeners for tuning in and listening to today's show. We encourage you to drop us a note, to share your comments on this episode, or visit our website or social media platforms. We'd really appreciate your feedback. We look forward to having Title Guaranty back on the spotlight again soon. And if you haven't already heard it, we also have another podcast called The Chamber BizBox, which features issues and challenges that face our business community. They're currently available on YouTube and Spotify, so give it a listen. This is your host, Catherine Castro. Until next time, take good care and make it a great day, Guam.